Google has just made their best image AI model completely free inside their video tool. And nobody's talking about what that actually means for us. I tested it last night, and I mean, actually tested it, not the 3 demo prompts everyone else is using. I built 6 prompts specifically designed to challenge it. Simple ones and genuinely hard ones. The results are in this video, and I'm going to show you the exact prompts I used so you can run them yourself. There are 3 things in here that change how I think about AI pre-production. One of them I didn't expect. We'll get there. That's the original Nano Banana on the left, which went viral last year, and Nano Banana 2 on the right. Same prompt. And the version on the right just became the default model inside Google Flow at 0 credits. Hi everyone, Tony here from ImpartPad. Before I show you the test results, and I'll show you every prompt, every output, let me give you the 1-sentence version of what Nano Banana 2 actually is, because Google has not been great at explaining this clearly. It's Gemini 3.1 Flash image. They took the quality and reasoning from their Pro model, which until now cost credits and ran slowly, and rebuilt it at flash speed. Smart model, fast. That combination matters for video pre-production specifically, and I'll show you exactly why when we get to the prompts. This dropped yesterday. I'm working from Google's official announcement and from 8 hours of my own testing in Gemini and Flow. Everything I'm showing you is live right now, not a demo reel. I treat image tools and video tools as separate categories on this channel, and I'll be clear about which is which. But this one sits directly at the intersection because the images you build here feed into your video pipeline. That's the whole point. Let's start with what actually matters most, the money. Inside Google Flow, Google's AI video creation tool, Nano Banana 2 is now the default image model, 0 credits, for all Flow users, not just paid subscribers. Compare that to what most of us are currently paying. Midjourney's cheapest plan is $10 a month. Ideogram is $7. Flux charges per generation. Adobe Firefly burns generative credits from your Creative Cloud subscription every time you use it in pre-production. This is free, and based on everything I tested last night, it's not just competitive with those tools, it's better than them, better than Midjourney, better than Stable Diffusion, better than Ideogram, better than Flux. And I don't say that lightly. I'll show you exactly why when we get to the prompts. There are 2 tools that come reasonably close to it right now, and I'll get to those in a second. But first, let me show you something that nobody's talking about with this model. Nano Banana 2 maintains character and object consistency across a workflow. Up to 5 characters, up to 14 separate objects in a single sequence. If you've ever tried to keep a consistent character across multiple AI image generations, you know what drift feels like. One great hero shot, then you try a different angle, different lighting, different scene, and it's a different person, different face, different bone structure. The drift is constant, and it's one of the most painful things about using these tools for serious pre-production work. 14 objects, 5 characters, preserved in one workflow. For anyone doing client storyboards or building visual reference packs, this is now your free option for that at a level that didn't previously exist without paying. The other capability worth flagging, and this one's genuinely different from any other image tool I've used, is the world knowledge integration. Nano Banana 2 is grounded in real-time web search. When you ask it for a specific real-world location or a specific historical scene, it doesn't hallucinate a generic version of that thing. It actually pulls visual references from the web and synthesizes from them. For documentary style work, for brands that need accurate location or product representation, that's a meaningful capability that Midjourney and Stable Diffusion don't have natively. And then there's text generation, which I need to spend a moment on because it's genuinely one of the best things about this model, and it's being completely underreported. Text rendering inside AI image generation has been broken for years. You'd prompt for a sign or a poster or a headline, and you'd get something that looked like text from a distance but fell apart the moment you looked at it. That was just accepted as a limitation of the technology. Nano Banana 2 renders clean, legible, correctly spelled text directly in the image, not approximated text, not close enough. Actual readable words in multiple languages and at small sizes, which is where every other model completely collapses. You're going to see this in the testing section when I get to the Tokyo Rain Street prompt. Readable English signs, readable Japanese kanji, a legible newspaper headline in a moving hand. For product mock-ups, marketing assets, anything where text needs to be part of the image, this is a completely different capability level than what we've had access to before. For the marketing manager who needs to mock up an ad campaign before committing to production, this alone is worth knowing about. You can now generate a full-frame advertising visual with the correct copy already in it. That used to require a separate compositing step. All right, the testing, 6 prompts. Here's exactly what I ran. I split the testing into 2 tiers. Simple prompts first, the kind of thing you'd actually use in day-to-day pre-production. Then I went harder, much harder. 3 prompts specifically designed to find the ceiling. The kind of thing that exposes what a model genuinely can't do yet. That's where it gets interesting. Here's the exact document I was working from. You can pause here and screenshot these if you want to run them yourself. Prompt 1, coffee shop window, rainy morning. A quiet indie coffee shop at dawn, rain streaking down the front window as a barista pours latte art behind the glass. Warm interior lights glow against a cool grey street outside. Cinematic, 35mm, shallow depth of field, soft steam haze, gentle film grain. Look at the rain streaks. That's physically correct. Not repeated texture, actual individual streaks with variation in speed and density. The steam haze on the glass is subtle, not overdone. The depth of field separation between the barista and the street is exactly what you'd get on a real 35mm lens at f1.8. For a pre-production concept frame, this is ready to put in front of a client. You don't clean this up, you send it. Prompt 2, sunset roadside, lone traveler. A lone traveler stands by a dusty car on an empty road, watching the sun dip behind rolling hills. Long shadows stretch across the asphalt and tall grass moves in a light breeze. Cinematic, wide 24mm, golden hour flare, natural color grade, crisp horizon. The shadow direction is correct relative to the sun position. That's something a lot of AI image tools still get wrong. They'll have shadows pointing in 2 different directions in the same frame. Here, the traveler's shadow, the car shadow, the grass shadows, they all track to the same light source. The golden hour flare is natural, not the blown out nuclear flare you get when you just prompt lens flare without specifics. This one I'd use as a pre-production mood reference for a travel campaign without hesitation. Prompt 3, a cozy living room, lamplight. A person curled up on a sofa reading a book while a table lamp casts warm light. A cat sleeps nearby and a shelf of plants sits in the background. Cinematic, 50mm, soft bokeh, warm tones, subtle vignette. This is the hardest of the 3 simple prompts to get right because it requires the model to handle a person at rest, which means the anatomy and proportions are fully visible and anything wrong jumps out immediately. The hands holding the book are, and I looked hard at this, correct. Correct finger count, realistic grip. The book is at a believable reading angle. The cat is in a natural sleeping position. The lamp fall-off follows correct physics. Brightest at the source, rolls off believably toward the edges. That's 3 of 3 on the simple prompts. All 3 would function as production-ready previs frames. Now let's see what happens when I actually pushed it. This is the part I almost didn't include because One of these results is going to start a debate, but that's exactly why it's in here. The complicated prompts were designed to hit three things that AI image models consistently fail at: spatial accuracy and reflection geometry, physical simulation in motion, and hand anatomy with transparent object refraction. These are the known hard problems. Let's go. Prompt 4. One-take mirror maze, extreme reflections. A tense espionage handoff inside a Baroque mirror labyrinth shot as a single continuous Steadicam take. A woman in a tailored coat passes a microfilm to a man while walking. The camera tracks them, and every mirror reflection must be correct. No extra people, no swapped hands, including reflections of reflections with consistent left-right orientation, readable reversed signage in the glass, an accurate light fall-off from practical sconces, cinematic, 35mm, anamorphic, shallow depth of field, candle-warm highlights, cool cyan shadows, subtle lens breathing, film grain. Okay, here's the honest read. The atmosphere is exceptional. The anamorphic rendering, the candlelight quality, the Baroque architecture, it nailed the vibe completely. The reflections of the environment, correct. Light fall off from the sconces, correct. The hands during the microfilm handoff, there's a geometry issue. The left-right orientation of the reflected hands is close, but if you look at the reflected grip, the microfilm appears in the wrong hand in the deeper mirror reflections, not in the primary mirror. The primary is correct. But two reflections deep, the geometry drifts. Is this a deal breaker? For a mood board or a previs frame? No. For anything that requires spatial precision in the final asset? Yes. You'd need a follow-up iteration with a more specific correction prompt. One more thing that works really well here: the signage. Reverse text in mirrors is something models consistently fail at. This one actually produced readable reversed characters. Not perfectly, but close enough that I was surprised. Prompt 5. Rain-soaked night street, readable typography plus motion. A neon-drenched Tokyo side street in heavy rain. A motorbike skids past foreground puddles while a street violinist plays under an awning. Raindrops freeze mid-air with motion blur on the bike only, and puddles must show physically correct ripples and reflections of the neon signs. Include multiple readable signs in Japanese and English, a clearly legible newspaper headline in a passerby's hand, and a phone screen showing a map with tiny text that remains coherent. Cinematic, 24mm, low angle, long exposure feel, bokeh from headlights, volumetric mist, wet asphalt speculars. This one impressed me more than I expected. The selective motion blur on the motorbike, frozen rain droplets elsewhere, is physically coherent. That's a genuinely difficult ask because it requires the model to apply different temporal effects to different elements in the same frame, and most models either blur everything or blur nothing. The puddle reflections are showing the neon colors accurately. The red sign is reflecting as red, the blue as blue, with the right distortion pattern for a shallow puddle with ripples hitting it. Wet asphalt speculars are present and they're directional, not just a uniform shine. Now, the text. The Japanese characters on the signs, some of them are real kanji, some of them are plausible looking but incorrect. It's mixed. The English signage is fully legible. The newspaper headline in the passerby's hand, I can read the headline. It's coherent English. The phone screen map, the map is there. There's text on it, but if you zoom in, it degrades into plausible looking but unreadable characters. For a pre-production frame, this is outstanding. For anything where text accuracy in a deliverable matters, you'd use this as a layout reference and correct the type in post, which is exactly how you'd use a previs frame anyway. Prompt 6. Complex hands, transparent objects, accurate refraction. This was the one I expected to expose the real ceiling. An intimate close-up at a poker table, 5 players' hands, different ages, different skin textures, manipulate cards and chips while a crystal whiskey glass, an ice cube, and a clear acrylic dealer button sit center frame. The scene demands correct finger anatomy, realistic nail beds, and consistent chip stacks. The glass must show accurate refraction of the cards behind it, believable caustics on the felt, and physically plausible reflections from a swinging brass lamp above. Cinematic 50 mm, tight framing, soft practical key light, rich contrast, micro texture on felt, subtle chromatic aberration. Right, so the skin texture variety across the 5 pairs of hands, that's genuinely impressive. Different ages, different tones, different levels of visible veining and joint definition. That's not easy to prompt, and it delivered. Finger anatomy. 4 of the 5 hands are correct. One hand in the midground has a finger that's slightly too long in the second knuckle segment. It's subtle. If you're not looking for it, you won't see it. The nail beds are realistic across all 5. The crystal glass, this is where I want you to look closely. The refraction of the cards behind the glass is physically accurate. You can see the card faces distorting through the crystal in the right direction. The caustic patterns on the felt, those irregular bright patches that appear when light bends through glass, they're present and they're in the right location relative to the lamp position. Chromatic aberration at the glass edges is there. The ice cube has the right internal scattering quality, that milky clear look where some light passes through and some bounces internally. That's a hard render. Where does it fall down? The chip stacks in the background hands are inconsistent. One stack has a chip that's floating slightly above the others, a small physics error, and the acrylic dealer button is less convincing than the glass. It reads more as frosted plastic than clear acrylic. But overall, on the hardest prompt I threw at it, 6 from 6 prompts produce something usable. 3 of the 3 complicated prompts produce something that surprised me. That's not what I expected going in. One more thing before the verdict that's worth your time, especially if you're doing client work. Google is building content provenance into Nano Banana 2 at the model level. Every output carries an invisible SynthID watermark combined with C2PA content credentials, a verifiable tag that marks it as AI generated. Their verification tool in the Gemini app has already been used over 20 million times since November. For client deliverables that require AI disclosure, and more contracts are requiring this, you now have a tool that creates that paper trail automatically. As platform policies tighten, that's not a minor detail. The verdict, and I want to be direct about this. Nano Banana 2 is the best AI image generation model available right now. Not competitive with the best, not close to the best, better than Midjourney, better than Stable Diffusion, better than Ideogram, better than Flux. What I got out of those 6 prompts, including the complicated ones, I've never gotten out of any other tool at any price point. Now, 2 tools that come reasonably close. The ones I'd point to as the nearest competition are Seedream 5.0 and OpenAI's image generator. Both of them are doing impressive work, and neither of them is a pushover. But from what I tested last night, Nano Banana 2 is still ahead on photorealism, on instruction following, on text rendering, and on the character consistency feature. How far ahead? That's the question I'm not going to answer in this video, because answering it properly means running the same 6 prompts through all 3 tools and showing you every output side by side. That's the dedicated comparison video. It's coming. But for this video for the release, the position is clear. Google just released the best image generation model on the market, and they put it inside their video tool for free. That's the story. As your image pre-production layer, character sheets, storyboard frames, location references, commercial mock-ups, type-accurate marketing assets, Nano Banana 2 is now the default recommendation. It's free inside Flow. The text rendering is genuinely excellent. And as I showed you with the 6-prompt test, the ceiling is higher than anything free has any right to be. If you're not using Google Flow yet, this is the reason to try it. The 6 prompts I used are in the description. Copy them, run them yourself, and drop your results below. I genuinely want to see how your outputs compare to mine. 2 things coming. First, I'm running those same 6 prompts through Seedream 5.0 and OpenAI's image generator, side by side with every Nano Banana 2 result you saw today. Same prompts, same criteria, full breakdown of where each tool wins, loses, and surprises. If you want to know which image generation tool is actually worth your money right now, that's the video. Second, and this is the one I think matters more for video creators specifically, I'm testing whether using Nano Banana 2 as a pre-production layer actually improves your final video output in Kling or Runway. Better reference images, better generations. Subscribe so you don't miss the upcoming videos. Also, everything from today's test is linked below. Thanks for watching, and until next time, stay blessed.